Every person carries an invisible shield built not from metal or stone, but from the sum of every emotion, every memory, and every internal battle they have fought in silence. This hidden emotional armor forms slowly, layer by layer, forged in the fires of disappointment, shaped by the sharp edges of past failures and strengthened by moments when giving up seemed easier than standing tall. People often misunderstand emotional strength, believing it is something loud, aggressive, or outwardly noticeable, when in reality it is almost always quiet, internal, and unnoticed by the world. True resilience is not about being unaffected, it is about being deeply affected and still choosing to continue. The psychology of hidden emotional armor reveals that the mind protects itself through learned coping mechanisms, cognitive reframing, and subtle adaptations that allow a person to keep functioning even under intense stress. Each small step forward becomes a proof of inner power, and every confrontation with fear becomes a reinforcement to the armor that guards the soul from collapse. Psychologists explain that emotional armor is not built in moments of triumph, but in the darkest hours when a person feels alone, overwhelmed, and on the edge of breaking. The brain learns to survive before it learns to thrive, developing pathways that prioritize stability over comfort and protection over vulnerability. While many people try to hide their pain out of fear of judgment, they don't realize that these experiences are constructing cognitive tools that will serve them for the rest of their lives. Emotional armor is formed when the mind is forced to reorganize itself after experiencing emotional shock. It happens when someone learns that pain does not kill them, loneliness does not destroy them, and uncertainty does not swallow them whole. These realizations imprint themselves on the subconscious mind. They become the foundation of a powerful psychological structure that, although invisible to others, becomes one of the strongest forces guiding human behavior. One of the most fascinating aspects of emotional armor is how it changes the way individuals interpret the world. People who have endured hardship develop heightened emotional awareness that others often lack. They can read tone, body language, and emotional inconsistencies with remarkable precision because they learn to survive by observing subtle cues. This sensitivity, originally a survival tactic, evolves into a psychological advantage. It allows individuals to avoid harmful interactions, form stronger boundaries, and detect deception or manipulation before it becomes dangerous. Interestingly, this form of emotional intelligence doesn't come from books or training, it is sculpted through experience. Over time, the person begins to understand patterns of human behavior more deeply, enabling them to navigate relationships, and conflicts with a level of clarity and intuition that others may misinterpret as detachment or coldness. However, emotional armor also comes with its challenges. The same psychological mechanisms that protect the mind can also create barriers between the individual and the world. When someone becomes too accustomed to shielding their emotions, they may develop difficulty trusting others or expressing vulnerability. This internal conflict creates a paradox. The armor that once saved them becomes the same armor that keeps them distant. But understanding this paradox is the key to transformation. The psychology behind it shows that emotional armor is not meant to be removed, it is meant to be managed. By recognizing when the armor is needed and when it is safe to open up, a person can achieve deeper emotional balance. Learning to control the armor instead of being controlled by it is one of the most powerful psychological transitions a person can experience. To strengthen this emotional armor without becoming emotionally closed off, psychologists recommend internal reframing practices. Reframing involves altering the significance of painful memories, shifting from "this made me weaker" to "this made me stronger." The subconscious mind responds powerfully to the meaning we assign to our experiences. When we reinterpret our struggles as training rather than punishment, our brains begin to categorize these memories differently. They become lessons instead of wounds, milestones instead of failures. Over time, this mental shift reduces emotional reactivity and increases self-confidence. The armor becomes not a wall, but a flexible shield strong enough to protect, yet light enough to allow growth and connection. Another key aspect of emotional armor is the development of self-control. People who have endured emotional storms learn to regulate their reactions to avoid creating new conflicts or triggering old traumas. Their silence in heated moments is often misinterpreted as weakness, but in reality, it reflects immense discipline. Self-control does not mean the absence of emotion, it means the presence of awareness. The individual recognizes when their emotions are rising and consciously decides to pause, breathe, and observe instead of reacting impulsively. This ability to stay grounded in chaos is one of the strongest psychological shields a person can develop. It gives them the power to navigate difficult environments with confidence and clear thinking. Over time, emotional armor reshapes a person's internal identity. They begin to view themselves not as victims of circumstances, but as survivors, warriors, and architects of their own transformation. Identity is one of the most powerful drivers of human behavior, and the shift from "I suffered" to "I survived" changes the entire trajectory of a person's life. They start to believe in their ability to endure, adapt, and rebuild. This belief influences their decisions, their ambitions, and even the way they communicate. The mind strengthens itself through repeated exposure to resilience-building experiences, reinforcing the armor and expanding the person's emotional capacity. A crucial part of understanding emotional armor is recognizing its effect on relationships. While resilient individuals often develop strong independence, they must also learn to create healthy emotional connections without feeling threatened. This requires the gradual dismantling of internal fears, such as the fear of vulnerability, abandonment, or disappointment. Psychology teaches that emotional openness is not the opposite of strength. It is its complement. When the armor becomes flexible, the individual gains the ability to form meaningful bonds while still protecting themselves from emotional harm. Healthy relationships become possible, not by removing the armor entirely, but by learning when to lower it safely. The psychology of emotional armor also highlights the importance of self-awareness. Understanding one's emotional triggers, coping mechanisms, and behavioral patterns enables a person to fine-tune their armor. They choose their battles wisely, conserve energy, and focus on long-term emotional well-being rather than temporary comfort. This form of psychological mastery allows them to maintain inner peace even when faced with external chaos. In the end, emotional armor is not a sign of weakness. It is a testament to the human mind's extraordinary ability to adapt, protect, and evolve. Every challenge, heartbreak, and painful lesson becomes a piece of this invisible shield that allows a person to continue walking forward with strength and dignity. When understood and managed correctly, emotional armor becomes one of the most powerful tools a person can possess. It allows them to face uncertainty with calmness, to withstand pressure with confidence, and to navigate life's complexity with unwavering resilience. The psychology of emotional armor reminds us that the strongest people are not those who appear invincible, but those who silently rebuild themselves every time life tries to tear them apart.